Today, on our channel, we'll be diving into Unlimited Memory by Kevin Horsley. This book reveals how anyone can improve their memory through simple, effective techniques. Whether you're looking to remember names, numbers, or just improve mental focus, Horsley's strategies provide the tools to enhance your brain's potential. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We regularly post book summaries, relaxing videos, and motivational content to help you grow. Stay tuned for more. Chapter 1. Introduction. Building Unlimited Memory. In the opening chapter of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley sets the stage by exploring how powerful memory can be when trained effectively. He introduces the idea that memory is a skill, not a fixed trait, and with the right methods, anyone can improve it. Horsley challenges the common belief that a good memory is something only a few people are born with, instead encouraging readers to see memory improvement as a path open to all who practice and apply the techniques he teaches. Horsley emphasizes that our memory is often underutilized because we haven't been taught how to make the most of it. Through years of practice, he's developed techniques that simplify the process of memorizing and retaining information. These methods aren't just about recalling facts, they're about creating a new mindset around learning. Horsley explains that a strong memory leads to confidence, better learning, and increased productivity. This chapter sets the foundation for a book that aims to teach practical memory techniques that can change everyday life. The author shares his journey, explaining how he overcame his own struggles with memory and attention. Diagnosed with learning disabilities as a child, Horsley eventually went on to become an international Grandmaster of memory. His personal story adds credibility and motivates readers, showing that if someone with his background can achieve mastery, others can too. This experience becomes the backbone of his teachings, as he has a first-hand understanding of the challenges people face with memory. One of the key points in the introduction is the concept of focus. Horsley stresses that in today's fast-paced world, focus is a diminishing skill. He explains that distraction is one of the biggest obstacles to memory, as it prevents the mind from fully processing and encoding information. Without focus, information is easily forgotten. By improving focus, individuals can open the door to better memory. Horsley sets this concept as a central theme throughout the book, urging readers to see focus as the first step to mastering memory. Horsley also introduces the role of self-discipline and routine in developing a powerful memory. Memory techniques are only effective if practiced regularly. The author makes it clear that while the methods in this book are powerful, they require consistent application to yield results. Discipline, according to Horsley, is essential for creating lasting memory improvement, as it allows individuals to embed the techniques into daily habits. This emphasis on routine encourages readers to make memory training a part of their lives rather than a one-time experiment. Throughout the chapter, Horsley aims to inspire readers by framing memory improvement as a way to unlock human potential. He presents memory as a tool that not only aids in learning but also enhances creativity, problem-solving, and personal growth. This broader view of memory is what makes Horsley's approach unique. It's about more than just recalling facts. It's about building a stronger, more versatile mind. With this mindset, the book becomes an invitation to rethink the way we use our brains. In wrapping up the chapter, Horsley provides an overview of the techniques he'll cover, which include methods like visualization, association, and mnemonic devices. Each technique is introduced as a building block for improved memory. Horsley assures readers that these are methods anyone can learn, emphasizing that they don't require special skills or high intelligence. By demystifying memory techniques, Horsley makes it clear that memory mastery is accessible and practical. Chapter 2. Excuse me. Overcoming limiting beliefs. In Chapter 2 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley delves into the excuses people commonly make when it comes to improving memory. He begins by addressing the self-limiting beliefs that often prevent individuals from seeing memory as a skill that can be developed. Many people assume they are just bad at remembering, but Horsley explains that these beliefs are often the primary barriers to unlocking potential. He encourages readers to examine and challenge their excuses and doubts, as they are only reinforcing limitations. Horsley stresses that memory, like any other skill, requires practice and a willingness to step out of one's comfort zone. He describes how excuses become mental roadblocks, leading to a lack of motivation and a cycle of poor memory performance. By breaking free of these excuses, individuals create an open mindset, one that sees challenges as opportunities for growth. This shift in attitude is crucial, as it lays the groundwork for adopting the memory techniques presented in the book. To further emphasize the impact of mindset, Horsley introduces the concept of self-fulfilling prophecy. When people repeatedly tell themselves they have a bad memory, they start believing it, and this belief affects their performance. By recognizing this, Horsley encourages readers to replace these limiting beliefs with empowering affirmations, such as, "I am capable of learning and remembering." This shift in self-perception helps individuals approach memory training with more confidence and commitment. The author also provides insights into the power of curiosity. Curiosity, he argues, is a key component of effective learning and memory. When people are genuinely interested in a subject, they are more likely to remember information related to it. Horsley encourages readers to cultivate curiosity in their everyday lives, as it naturally enhances focus and memory retention. Instead of passively absorbing information, curious individuals actively engage, making the learning process both enjoyable and effective. Horsley wraps up the chapter by challenging readers to start taking action, no matter how small. He reminds them that the journey to a better memory begins with a single step, and that by consistently practicing memory techniques, anyone can experience improvement. This chapter serves as a motivational boost, pushing readers to set aside their excuses and believe in their ability to develop a powerful memory. Chapter 3. Never believe a lie. Reframing beliefs around memory. In Chapter 3 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley dives into the mental lies or misconceptions that often limit our potential for memory improvement. He begins by explaining that many people hold false beliefs about memory, which in turn prevents them from actively working on it. Common myths include ideas like memory worsens with age, only geniuses have good memories, or it's too late to improve. Horsley emphasizes that these beliefs are unfounded and only serve to create barriers to personal growth. The author highlights the importance of recognizing and challenging these false beliefs. He explains that, like any other skill, memory can be improved with practice, dedication, and the right techniques. While memory is often seen as fixed or genetically determined, Horsley argues that it is far more adaptable than most people realize. By letting go of negative beliefs, individuals can set themselves up for success and approach memory training with an open mind. To dispel these myths, Horsley draws on research showing that the human brain is highly plastic, meaning it can change and adapt over time. This concept, known as neuroplasticity, supports the idea that memory can improve regardless of age or previous ability. Horsley reassures readers that they have the power to enhance their memory by regularly practicing techniques and actively engaging in learning. One of the key ideas in this chapter is the difference between fixed and growth mindsets. Horsley explains that a fixed mindset, where individuals believe abilities are static, limits growth and discourages effort. Conversely, a growth mindset enables individuals to see challenges as opportunities and encourages persistence in learning. By adopting a growth mindset, people can overcome memory limitations they may have accepted as permanent. This shift is crucial for unlocking memory potential and achieving better results with practice. Horsley also introduces practical exercises to identify and challenge personal memory-related beliefs. He suggests that readers write down any doubts or negative thoughts they have about memory and then question their validity. This exercise aims to dismantle these mental barriers and helps people become more aware of how their beliefs influence their behavior. When individuals confront these false beliefs, they can replace them with more empowering thoughts, setting a strong foundation for memory improvement. Another important aspect covered in this chapter is the concept of self-talk. Horsley explains that the way people talk to themselves can greatly influence their ability to learn and remember. Negative self-talk, such as, "I'll never remember this," reinforces limitations, while positive affirmations, like, "I am improving my memory every day," can encourage motivation and persistence. By changing their self-talk, readers can develop a mindset that supports continuous improvement. Horsley concludes the chapter by emphasizing that memory is a journey, not a destination. He reminds readers that even small progress is valuable and that, over time, these incremental improvements lead to significant gains. Through consistent practice and the right mindset, anyone can improve their memory. Chapter 3 serves as a motivational call to challenge limiting beliefs and adopt a mindset that views memory as an achievable and trainable skill. Chapter 4. Be Here Now. Embracing Present Moment Awareness for Memory Improvement. In Chapter 4 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley emphasizes the power of present moment awareness in enhancing memory and concentration. He introduces the concept that by focusing fully on the present, we can significantly improve our ability to retain and recall information. Horsley suggests that the mind is often distracted by thoughts of the past or future, which prevents us from effectively absorbing and processing information in the moment. Being fully present, however, opens up the mind to heightened awareness and better mental clarity. Horsley explains that memory is highly dependent on attention, and attention requires presence. When the mind wanders, even for a second, we miss important details, and this lack of attention makes it challenging to remember what we learn. He encourages readers to practice mindfulness by actively bringing their awareness back to the present whenever they notice it drifting. This practice, he explains, trains the brain to stay focused, making it easier to store and retrieve information. Overcoming distractions. Distractions are a major impediment to memory, and in this chapter, Horsley offers practical advice for managing them. He discusses internal distractions, such as daydreams and worries, as well as external distractions like noises or interruptions. By minimizing these distractions, individuals can create an environment that supports full focus and engagement with the material. Horsley suggests that readers identify common distractions in their lives and take proactive steps to address them. For example, they might create a quiet study space, turn off notifications on their devices, or use time-blocking techniques to focus on one task at a time. Horsley also introduces the idea of intentional focus. Instead of passively engaging with information, he encourages readers to approach learning with a clear purpose, asking themselves why they want to remember something and how it will benefit them. This intention setting can help individuals stay motivated and focused on the task, making it easier to retain information. By approaching learning with purpose, they bring their minds into the present and deepen their level of engagement. The power of focused practice. Another key point in this chapter is the value of focused practice. Horsley explains that while multitasking is often praised, it can be counterproductive when trying to build a strong memory. Focusing on a single task at a time allows the brain to fully process and integrate information, leading to better retention. He contrasts focused practice with multitasking, noting that dividing attention between multiple tasks reduces both productivity and memory retention. To develop focused practice, Horsley suggests setting aside dedicated periods for learning and memory exercises. During these times, individuals should concentrate solely on the task at hand, blocking out all other distractions. By doing this consistently, the brain becomes accustomed to prolonged focus, which strengthens its ability to hold and recall information. Horsley also emphasizes that even short periods of focused practice can yield impressive results if done regularly. Using mindfulness techniques. Mindfulness techniques play a significant role in enhancing present moment awareness. Horsley introduces several methods, such as deep breathing, body scanning, and visualization, to help readers maintain focus. These techniques calm the mind, reduce stress, and bring attention back to the present. For instance, taking deep breaths before beginning a memory exercise can help clear the mind of clutter and create a mental space for focused learning. Horsley recommends that readers incorporate these practices into their daily routines to build the habit of mindful focus. Horsley also suggests periodic mental check-ins throughout the day, encouraging readers to notice when their minds have wandered and gently bring them back to the present moment. This practice strengthens mental discipline and reinforces the habit of staying attentive. Over time, These mindfulness techniques enhance memory by training the mind to stay present, observe details, and engage deeply with information. Creating a mindful learning environment. A supportive environment is key to staying present, and Horsley encourages readers to design their surroundings to aid concentration. He recommends organizing a clutter-free space and incorporating tools that enhance focus, such as notepads for jotting down ideas or using background music specifically designed to boost concentration. A mindful environment reduces the cognitive load, allowing individuals to immerse themselves fully in the learning process. In addition to the physical setup, Horsley advises creating a positive mental environment by setting clear goals and celebrating small victories. Recognizing progress keeps motivation high and reinforces the commitment to memory improvement. Horsley also suggests using positive affirmations like, "I am focused," or "I am improving my memory," to build a supportive mental environment that promotes present moment engagement. Conclusion: embracing presence for lasting memory benefits. In closing, Horsley reiterates that mastering present moment awareness is foundational to memory improvement. By becoming more mindful and managing distractions, readers can create an optimal state for learning. This chapter serves as a reminder that being fully present allows individuals to experience a higher level of focus and enhances their ability to absorb and recall information. Chapter 4 emphasizes that by cultivating mindfulness and focusing on the present, readers can unlock a more powerful memory and set themselves up for success in both learning and daily life. Chapter 5. Bring information to life. Transforming abstract details into vivid memories. In Chapter 5 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley explains the power of imagination in enhancing memory retention. He suggests that by bringing information to life, we can remember abstract concepts more vividly and effortlessly. According to Horsley, our brains naturally gravitate towards stories, colors, and emotions, which helps create stronger connections. Thus, transforming dry facts into lively images or scenarios allows information to become memorable. Horsley encourages readers to use their imagination to associate information with something vivid, absurd, or emotional to increase its impact. The brain's preference for visual imagery. Horsley explains that the human brain is wired to process and remember visual information more effectively than plain text or numbers. He introduces the concept of seeing with the mind's eye and explains that by visualizing information in creative ways, we make it easier to recall. When we assign visuals to otherwise abstract details, such as a list of items or a sequence of numbers, our brains have an anchor to hold on to. Horsley emphasizes the importance of crafting images that are unique and exaggerated, as these are more likely to stay in memory. The value of exaggeration and absurdity. To make images memorable, Horsley advocates for exaggeration and absurdity. By taking everyday items or ideas and turning them into wild or humorous scenarios, we create distinct memories that stand out. Horsley provides examples where common objects are exaggerated in size, movement, or color to make them memorable. For instance, visualizing a giant toothbrush brushing a skyscraper can help remember both toothbrush and building. He encourages readers to not shy away from these seemingly ridiculous associations, as they are precisely what makes the memory stick. Building mental stories. Horsley highlights the technique of building mental stories as a way to link multiple pieces of information together. By connecting facts or items in a story format, we create a narrative that naturally flows from one point to the next. This method not only helps with memorization, but also with recalling the information in order. Horsley gives an example of turning a grocery list into a story where each item interacts with the next in a sequential and visual manner. For instance, an apple might roll down a hill, bumping into a loaf of bread, which then splashes into a carton of milk. These connections make it easier to recall the entire list as a coherent mental image. The role of emotions in memory. Emotions are another powerful tool in memory formation, Horsley explains. By attaching an emotional experience to information, we are more likely to remember it. Emotions can make otherwise neutral facts more personal and meaningful, enhancing the likelihood of retention. Horsley suggests that readers associate information with feelings such as joy, surprise, or even fear, as these emotions make a stronger impression on the brain. He encourages readers to use emotion-based associations when learning new content, as this practice leverages the brain's natural response to emotional stimuli. Practical exercises for visualization. To help readers practice visualization, Horsley offers a few practical exercises. One such exercise involves taking a familiar object and imagining it in an exaggerated or impossible scenario. For example, readers might visualize a phone that is the size of a building or a car floating on water like a boat. These exercises train the brain to create strong, unusual images that can later be applied to remembering factual information. By practicing these visualization techniques, readers can enhance their ability to transform abstract content into memorable visualizations. Using the C method. Horsley introduces the C method as a simple framework for creating memorable images. C stands for senses, exaggeration, and emotion. By involving as many senses as possible, exaggerating the image, and attaching an emotion to it, readers can create strong mental associations that are easier to recall. For instance, when trying to remember a meeting date, one might imagine the sensation of a cold, hard conference room chair, exaggerate the size of the clock, and attach the excitement or nervousness of meeting a new person. These sensory details make the memory more vivid and accessible. The benefits of engaging with material. Horsley concludes the chapter by emphasizing the importance of actively engaging with material to improve memory. By turning passive information into dynamic images and stories, readers take an active role in the learning process. Horsley notes that passive review is less effective than engaging with material through visualization and association techniques. Actively creating these memorable images makes learning more enjoyable and less stressful, as it transforms the process into a creative exercise. Conclusion: bringing information to life through creativity. In Chapter 5, Horsley encourages readers to approach memory with creativity, bringing information to life through vivid visualizations, emotional associations, and mental stories. He emphasizes that by engaging the senses and imagination, readers can create memories that are not only memorable but enjoyable to recall. This chapter highlights that memory can be enhanced not through rote memorization, but by making information more personal and vibrant. Horsley's insights inspire readers to embrace their creativity in learning, transforming abstract details into unforgettable mental images. Chapter 6. Use your car to remember. Applying the method of loci for effective memory retention. In Chapter 6 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley introduces a powerful memory technique called the method of loci, or memory palace. This ancient method relies on associating information with specific locations that are familiar to the learner, like rooms in a house or landmarks along a daily commute. Horsley explains that the technique leverages our natural ability to recall physical spaces, which we can use as mental hooks for information we want to remember. How the method of loci works. The method of loci involves visualizing a familiar environment, such as your home or a car route, and mentally placing items or concepts you want to remember in specific locations along this mental path. Horsley explains that by associating information with known spaces, you create strong visual cues that can be easily recalled later. He suggests that learners take time to mentally walk through their chosen environment, linking each part of their surroundings to a piece of information. Using a car as a memory palace. In this chapter, Horsley encourages readers to use their car as a memory palace. He explains that for people who drive frequently, a car can serve as a reliable mental structure to associate with information. For example, if you need to remember a list of tasks, you could visualize each one in a different part of your car, like the steering wheel, dashboard, or passenger seat. Each part of the car acts as a memory station, where information is stored for easy retrieval. Creating vivid associations. To make the memory palace technique effective, Horsley emphasizes the importance of creating vivid, exaggerated associations. He recommends imagining objects or ideas in your memory palace in colorful, unusual ways. For instance, if you're trying to remember to buy apples, you could picture an enormous apple balancing on your dashboard. By exaggerating the size or color of objects, you make the memory stronger and more likely to stick. This approach brings life to the method of loci, helping you encode information in memorable, personalized ways. Organizing information in sequence. One of the advantages of the method of loci is that it provides an organized sequence for information. Horsley highlights that placing information along a familiar route ensures that it's remembered in the correct order. This is especially helpful when memorizing lists or sequences. When you walk through your memory palace, each item will appear in the order in which it was placed. Horsley points out that this organization is particularly useful for students, professionals, and anyone who needs to recall information in a specific order. Practice for long-term retention. Horsley emphasizes that practice is crucial for making the method of loci an effective memory tool. He suggests starting with small lists and gradually increasing the amount of information placed in the memory palace. As readers become more comfortable with the technique, they can add complex information to their mental environments. Horsley assures that with regular practice, using a memory palace can significantly improve both short-term and long-term retention. Applying the method of loci to real-life scenarios. Horsley provides examples of how the method of loci can be applied in daily life, such as remembering a shopping list, a series of talking points for a presentation, or the steps in a project. By associating each task or point with a specific location, it becomes easier to recall each item when needed. Horsley suggests starting with familiar scenarios, such as planning a meal or preparing for a meeting, and using the memory palace technique to organize key points in a logical and memorable way. Benefits of using familiar locations. Horsley explains that the effectiveness of the memory palace method comes from using spaces that are deeply familiar. Because we know these spaces well, we can navigate them mentally without much effort. This familiarity allows the brain to focus on the information being recalled rather than on visualizing an unfamiliar place. He encourages readers to explore which spaces work best for them, whether it's their car, home, or even a favorite park route. Conclusion: strengthening memory through familiar associations. In Chapter 6, Horsley teaches readers how to harness the power of familiar locations to retain information. The method of loci transforms everyday environments into powerful memory tools by creating associations that are visually distinct and easy to remember. By encouraging readers to use their car or another familiar space as a memory palace, Horsley shows how engaging the mind's spatial memory can lead to stronger, more organized recall. This chapter emphasizes that with regular practice, the memory palace technique becomes a highly effective strategy for retaining all kinds of information. Chapter 7. Use your body to remember. Enhancing memory through kinesthetic techniques. In Chapter 7 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley introduces methods to leverage physical movements and body-based memory techniques to strengthen recall. This chapter explores how engaging the body in the memorization process can help embed information more deeply in the mind. Horsley explains that physical involvement in learning, often referred to as kinesthetic learning, can improve memory retention by associating actions with information. Using our bodies while learning isn't only for young children. Adults, too, can use these techniques to make memorization easier and more effective. Kinesthetic memory and its role in learning. Horsley describes kinesthetic memory as the ability to remember information through movement and touch. He explains that kinesthetic memory taps into our senses, which is why learning through action can create stronger mental associations. For example, people often remember the steps to a dance routine or the keys on a keyboard because their bodies have repeated the movements. Horsley emphasizes that by bringing this sensory element into learning, anyone can better encode and retrieve information. Anchoring information with movement. One of the key techniques Horsley introduces in this chapter is anchoring information with specific movements. Anchoring involves connecting information to simple gestures or movements, like nodding the head or tapping a finger. Each time you want to remember a piece of information, you repeat the movement. Over time, this physical association serves as a trigger that helps you recall the memory more quickly. This approach is especially useful for memorizing lists or steps in a process, as the repetition of movement reinforces the memory. Combining visualization with kinesthetic learning. Horsley encourages combining visualization with physical movement to make the learning process even more effective. For instance, if you're trying to remember a list, you might visualize each item while performing a related gesture. He suggests creating an exaggerated or humorous movement to make the memory even stronger. Adding a visual component to kinesthetic learning helps establish a multi-sensory connection that makes information harder to forget. This combined approach allows the brain to create multiple pathways to access the information. Practicing with the hand method. To make kinesthetic learning practical, Horsley introduces the hand method, a technique where each finger represents a different piece of information. For instance, each finger could represent a key point in a speech or a step in a process. This method leverages the natural connection between physical touch and memory, allowing learners to use their hands as memory anchors. Horsley suggests practicing this method by associating information with each finger and visualizing, or saying each piece of information while touching the corresponding finger. The importance of repetition and engagement. Repetition and engagement are vital for kinesthetic memory. Horsley points out that actively engaging with the material multiple times through physical movement can help solidify the information. He suggests repeating the hand or movement-based methods regularly, especially when first learning new material. By physically engaging with information through repeated gestures, the memory becomes deeply ingrained and easier to retrieve over time. Using kinesthetic learning in everyday life. Horsley provides examples of how kinesthetic techniques can be used in daily tasks. For example, if you want to remember the items on a shopping list, you could mentally assign each item to a finger or a series of movements. When preparing for a presentation, you might associate each main point with a unique gesture or movement. Horsley emphasizes that integrating kinesthetic techniques into everyday life can help make memorization more practical and effective. Benefits of physical involvement in memory retention. Horsley explains that using physical actions in learning is effective because it stimulates different parts of the brain. This multisensory approach helps establish more robust neural connections, making it easier to access information later. He encourages readers to experiment with physical techniques that feel natural to them and find what works best for different types of information. The chapter emphasizes that anyone can benefit from adding movement to their learning routine, particularly if they're struggling with traditional memorization methods. Conclusion: strengthening recall through movement. Chapter 7 teaches readers how to harness physical movements and sensory engagement as powerful memory tools. Horsley shows that by anchoring information with gestures, combining visualization with kinesthetic actions, and practicing techniques like the hand method, learners can retain information more effectively. Through kinesthetic learning, information becomes accessible not only through mental recall, but also through the sensory and physical experiences that support it. This chapter encourages readers to approach memorization as a whole-body experience, using movement as a key to unlock stronger memory. Chapter 8. Pegging information down. Building a memory framework with the PEG system. In Chapter 8 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley introduces the PEG system, a powerful technique for memorizing information in a structured and organized way. The PEG system is designed to help you store lists and sequences by associating information with pegs that you create as mental placeholders. These pegs serve as anchors for the information you want to remember, allowing you to recall it in order by visualizing each peg and its associated item. The foundation of the PEG system, using numbers as anchors. Horsley starts by explaining that the PEG system is often based on numbers and rhyming words. By assigning a rhyming word to each number, e.g., 1 rhymes with sun, 2 with shoe, you create a set of mental images that correspond to each number. These images become your pegs. For example, to remember a grocery list, you could associate the first item with sun, the second item with shoe, and so on. Each image serves as a mental hook for the information you want to recall. Creating vivid images for strong associations. A key aspect of the PEG system is creating vivid, memorable images for each association. Horsley advises using exaggerated, colorful, or funny imagery to make the pegs stand out in your mind. For example, if you're using sun as your first peg and need to remember milk, you could imagine a large sun radiating milk. The more unusual the image, the stronger it will stick in your memory. By combining unusual visuals with the peg words, you create an effective memory aid that's easy to recall. Linking information to pegs with practice. Horsley emphasizes that practice is essential for mastering the peg system. To start, he suggests memorizing the peg words associated with each number. Then, practice linking new information to these pegs by using the vivid images you've created. For instance, if you're trying to memorize a list of tasks for the day, link each task to a peg word and visualize it in a way that connects the peg with the task. This practice helps solidify the peg words and makes it easier to retrieve information on demand. Using pegs for different types of information. The peg system isn't limited to simple lists. Horsley explains that you can use it for a variety of information types, from speeches to historical dates. For speeches, each point you want to remember can be tied to a peg, allowing you to mentally walk through your speech by recalling each image in order. For dates, you can modify the peg words to represent numbers in different ways. This flexibility makes the peg system a versatile tool for organizing complex information. Advantages of the peg system in daily life. Horsley discusses how the peg system can simplify everyday tasks by making lists and sequences easy to remember. Whether it's a shopping list, a to-do list, or steps in a process, the peg system provides an organized structure that reduces mental clutter. By keeping information tied to familiar pegs, you can retrieve it with minimal effort, allowing you to stay focused and efficient. Horsley highlights that with practice, the peg system can become an invaluable tool for staying organized. Enhancing memory skills with additional techniques. To make the peg system even more effective, Horsley suggests combining it with other memory techniques, such as visualization and the linking method. Visualization strengthens the mental images, while linking helps create a flow between different pieces of information. By layering these techniques, you create a robust mental framework for memorizing and recalling complex material. This approach allows you to adapt the peg system to different contexts and types of information, enhancing your overall memory skills. The role of repetition and review in mastery. Horsley emphasizes the importance of repetition and review in mastering the peg system. Regularly practicing with new lists and reviewing previously memorized information helps reinforce the peg associations. By revisiting the mental images associated with each peg, you strengthen the neural pathways that support memory retention. Horsley suggests setting aside time for practice and review to make the peg system a permanent part of your memory toolkit. Conclusion: building a reliable memory framework. In Chapter 8, Horsley presents the peg system as a structured approach to organizing and recalling information. By using rhyming words as pegs, creating vivid mental images, and practicing regularly, you can create a reliable memory framework for lists and sequences. Horsley's techniques help transform the memorization process into a creative and engaging exercise, making it easier to manage and recall information. The peg system becomes an invaluable tool for anyone looking to improve their memory and maintain an organized mind. Chapter 9. In the first place, creating a structured memory framework using the method of loci. In Chapter 9 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley explores the method of loci, also known as the memory palace technique, which uses familiar locations to help remember information in a structured way. This technique relies on visualizing information placed in specific, memorable locations within a known environment, such as your home or workplace. The method of loci capitalizes on the brain's natural ability to remember spatial relationships, helping you recall information quickly and accurately. The basics of the memory palace: visualizing locations. Horsley begins by explaining that the memory palace is a mental construct that involves imagining a familiar place and then storing information in various locations within that setting. For example, if you choose your home as a memory palace, you could place different pieces of information in each room. As you mentally walk through your home, each room triggers the memory of the specific information stored there. This technique leverages spatial memory, making it easy to retrieve information in sequence or at random, creating distinct, vivid images in each location. To effectively use the memory palace, Horsley recommends creating vivid, memorable images that represent each piece of information. For example, if you're trying to remember a list of groceries, you might place a giant loaf of bread on your kitchen counter or visualize a carton of milk spilling across your living room floor. The more exaggerated and colorful the images, the more likely they are to stand out in your memory. This distinctiveness strengthens the associations between the information and the locations in your memory palace, establishing a clear pathway in your mind. One of the key aspects of the method of loci is establishing a clear, consistent pathway through your chosen memory palace. Horsley advises starting in a specific location and following a set route as you place items throughout the space. By always following the same path, you create a reliable mental journey that makes it easier to retrieve information in the correct order. This structured pathway is essential for remembering information systematically and avoiding confusion. Applying the memory palace to various types of information. Horsley emphasizes that the memory palace is versatile and can be used for memorizing all kinds of information, from speeches to historical dates. For a speech, you could place each main point in different rooms, allowing you to mentally walk through your argument as you deliver it. For numerical information, Horsley suggests assigning numbers to rooms in your memory palace, providing a spatial structure for otherwise abstract data. This adaptability makes the method of loci a valuable tool for various memory tasks. Combining the memory palace with other techniques. To enhance the effectiveness of the memory palace, Horsley suggests combining it with other memory techniques, such as visualization and linking. Visualization amplifies the vividness of each image, while linking helps you create a cohesive flow between different pieces of information. For example, you could use the linking technique to create connections between items in adjacent rooms, further strengthening the memory pathways within your palace. This combination approach allows for deeper and more flexible memory retention. Advantages of the memory palace in everyday life. Horsley points out that the memory palace technique is useful for organizing and recalling information in daily life, especially when you need to remember long sequences or lists. By storing information in different rooms or places, you can retrieve it more naturally and without needing external cues. This technique helps you stay organized and focused, making it easier to handle complex tasks or retrieve lists and sequences quickly. The role of repetition and practice. Horsley emphasizes that, like all memory techniques, the memory palace requires practice and repetition. Building your first memory palace might take time, but with consistent use, the process becomes faster and more intuitive. Practicing with various types of information helps reinforce the memory pathways and improves recall speed. Horsley encourages readers to experiment with different memory palaces and practice regularly to make the technique a natural part of their memory routine. Conclusion: establishing a powerful memory tool. In Chapter 9, Horsley introduces the memory palace as an efficient and structured approach to organizing and recalling information. By using familiar locations, vivid imagery, and a consistent pathway, you create a reliable framework for storing and retrieving information. Horsley's instructions make the method of loci an accessible and practical tool for anyone seeking to enhance their memory skills. This chapter highlights how the memory palace can transform your approach to memorization, allowing you to handle information with greater ease and accuracy. Chapter 10. Linking thoughts. Creating connections for stronger memory. In Chapter 10 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley delves into the power of linking thoughts to enhance memory recall. This technique is rooted in the idea that forming associations between pieces of information helps reinforce memory pathways, making it easier to remember and retrieve information. The chapter outlines how the linking method can be applied to various types of information and how it works effectively when combined with other memory strategies. The concept of linking thoughts, creating strong associations. Horsley begins by introducing the concept of linking thoughts, where each new piece of information is connected to something already familiar. By associating new information with something vivid, memorable, or unique, you form a mental chain that strengthens recall. This technique works by creating an image or story that links the items you want to remember. For instance, if you need to remember a grocery list, apples, milk, and bread, you could create a mental story where an apple is rolling into a glass of milk, which then spills onto a loaf of bread. The absurdity and uniqueness of this story make the items unforgettable. Visualization and storytelling. The power of mental imagery. A key part of the linking technique is visualization. Horsley explains that using vivid, often exaggerated images to connect pieces of information makes them more memorable. This is where the use of storytelling becomes powerful. By constructing a narrative in your mind that connects each element logically, you help your brain retain the information in a meaningful way. This technique goes beyond rote memorization and taps into the brain's natural tendency to remember images, especially when they are bizarre or emotionally charged. For example, linking abstract concepts or facts by turning them into a storyline increases the ease with which we can recall them later. Building stronger memory networks, creating mental chains. The linking method also benefits from the creation of mental networks. When you link several pieces of information together, you essentially create a web of associations in your mind. Each new connection builds upon the previous ones, strengthening the entire network of memories. The more you practice this, the more efficient and automatic the process becomes. Instead of memorizing individual facts, you start memorizing entire networks, making it easier to recall all the connected information as a cohesive whole. This approach is particularly useful when trying to memorize complex or lengthy material, such as a speech or a list of historical events. From simple facts to complex ideas, linking makes everything easier. Horsley emphasizes that the linking method is versatile. Whether you're trying to remember simple facts, like a shopping list, or more complex ideas, such as abstract theories or speeches, the linking technique adapts to various types of information. For instance, to remember a series of numbers, you could turn each number into an image and then link them together in a story. The flexibility of the method allows it to be applied to nearly any memorization task, making it a highly adaptable tool for improving memory. This technique is especially beneficial for students and professionals who need to remember vast amounts of data in a short period of time. Enhancing recall, strengthening the memory web. Horsley explains that the linking technique not only helps with the initial memorization, but also enhances recall by strengthening the connections between pieces of information. Once you have established these links, each memory is easier to access because the brain is able to follow the mental path you've created. For example, if you need to remember a long sequence of events or items, each linked to the next, your brain can more easily navigate this mental web to retrieve the information. This makes recalling large amounts of data not only faster but also more accurate, as the connections become more ingrained through repetition and practice. Practical applications in everyday life. In addition to academic and professional uses, Horsley explains how the linking technique can be applied to everyday situations. Whether you're trying to recall someone's name, remember important dates, or even memorize directions, linking thoughts can simplify these tasks. For instance, to remember a person's name, you could link their name to a distinctive feature, like their hat or the way they speak. This personal connection increases the chances of remembering their name when you see them again. The linking technique thus becomes a practical memory tool for various situations in daily life. Using linking with other techniques for maximum effectiveness. Horsley also suggests combining linking with other memory techniques, such as the memory palace or visualization. This combination multiplies the effectiveness of both methods, as the linking technique helps create strong associations, while the memory palace offers a structured framework for storing and retrieving information. By using multiple techniques, you can enhance your ability to remember even more complex and varied types of information. The combination approach makes the memorization process more flexible and robust, allowing you to tackle a wider range of tasks. Conclusion: linking thoughts for a powerful memory system. In Chapter 10, Horsley explains that linking thoughts is a crucial strategy for creating a powerful memory system. By forming associations between pieces of information, using visualization, and building mental networks, you can drastically improve your memory and recall abilities. Whether for personal, academic, or professional purposes, the linking technique provides an effective, adaptable way to remember information and make it easier to retrieve. As you practice and refine this method, you'll be able to recall more with greater speed and accuracy, making it a valuable tool for anyone looking to enhance their memory. Chapter 11. Remembering names. The challenge of remembering names. One of the most common memory challenges that people face is remembering names. Whether it's a colleague at work, someone you meet at a social event, or a person you've encountered in passing, remembering a name can often be difficult. In Chapter 11 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley delves into why this is such a widespread issue and offers strategies to improve memory retention when it comes to names. Why names are hard to remember. Horsley explains that the primary reason people struggle to remember names is that they don't engage with the name long enough for it to be committed to memory. The human brain processes names as simple, abstract labels rather than meaningful associations, which leads to them being easily forgotten. The lack of immediate connection between the name and something more vivid makes it difficult for the brain to retain. Additionally, distractions, lack of focus, or an overload of information in social situations can all contribute to this problem. Active engagement, the key to remembering names. Horsley suggests that to overcome this challenge, you need to actively engage with the person's name when you are first introduced. This means repeating their name immediately after hearing it, which helps solidify the connection in your mind. He recommends repeating the name several times in conversation, such as saying, "Nice to meet you, John," and "How have you been, John?" This constant repetition forms a mental loop, helping to reinforce the connection. Visualization, adding a mental image to the name. Visualization plays an essential role in remembering names. Horsley encourages readers to create a mental image associated with the person's name or appearance. For example, if you meet someone named Rose, you could visualize a beautiful rose flower. This adds an extra layer of sensory detail, making the name more memorable by connecting it with a clear, distinct image. The more unique and vivid the mental image, the better it will be retained in memory. Linking names to personal characteristics. Another strategy for remembering names is linking the name to a personal characteristic or visual cue related to the person. For instance, if you meet a man named Jack who is wearing a jacket, you can link his name to the item of clothing, Jack in the jacket. This kind of association strengthens the connection between the name and something that's more easily recalled. If the person has unique features, such as a particular hairstyle, you can link the name to that feature. The key here is to make the link as personal and specific as possible to make it easier to retrieve later. The power of repetition. Repetition is another powerful tool in remembering names. Horsley recommends revisiting the name in your mind throughout the day after meeting someone. This constant reinforcement ensures the name stays in your short-term memory long enough to transfer to long-term memory. Additionally, you can write down the name and any associated images or characteristics you've linked to it, reinforcing the connection. Practicing this regularly will improve your ability to remember names over time. The importance of focus and presence. Horsley emphasizes that focus and presence are critical when trying to remember names. Often, when we meet someone, we are distracted by other thoughts or the environment around us, which makes it difficult to fully absorb the person's name. To remember names effectively, it's important to be present in the moment, eliminate distractions, and give the person your full attention when they introduce themselves. When you are engaged and focused, the brain is more likely to encode the name into memory. Using mnemonics for complex names. For more complex or unusual names, Horsley suggests using mnemonic devices to help recall them. Mnemonics are memory aids that create a connection between the name and something easier to remember. For example, If you meet someone named Tamal and have trouble remembering it, you could create a mnemonic such as Tamal, like a tasty meal, or Tamal, a famous chef's name. This turns the name into a memorable phrase or image that helps you recall the person later. Memory practice, improving name recall with consistency. Horsley emphasizes the importance of practice when it comes to remembering names. The more you consciously apply the techniques outlined in the chapter, the better you will get at recalling names. He suggests practicing these strategies in your everyday life by making a point to remember names in social situations. Start by actively using the person's name when you first meet them, and apply visualizations and mnemonics to reinforce the memory. Over time, these techniques will become second nature. Conclusion: mastering the art of remembering names. By incorporating active engagement, visualization, and repetition into your daily interactions, you can significantly improve your ability to remember names. Horsley's strategies empower you to strengthen your memory and build stronger connections with the people around you. As you apply these techniques, you'll find that not only will you be able to remember names more easily, but you'll also experience increased confidence in social situations. Remembering names is not just about recalling a label. It's about making meaningful connections and showing others that you value them. Chapter 12. Remembering numbers. The challenge of remembering numbers. Remembering numbers is an essential skill for many situations in life, from remembering phone numbers and PIN codes to recalling important data for work or study. However, numbers can be tricky to memorize because they lack the vivid, associative qualities that words or names might have. In Chapter 12 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley explores strategies for improving your ability to remember numbers and ensures that these techniques can be applied in both personal and professional contexts. The problem with number recall. Numbers are inherently abstract. Unlike names or places, they do not carry any obvious imagery or context, which makes it difficult for the brain to store them in a memorable way. For instance, trying to remember a 12-digit phone number may seem like an impossible task if you don't have an effective strategy. Horsley points out that our brains are wired to remember stories, images, and emotions, not isolated numbers. To improve number recall, we must create associations that transform numbers into something more memorable. Transforming numbers into images, the major system. One of Horsley's most effective strategies for remembering numbers is using a system called the major system. This system involves associating numbers with consonant sounds, then creating words or images from those sounds. For example, the number 1 could be associated with the letter T or D. The number 2 could be N, and so on. By converting the number into a word or phrase, you make the number more meaningful and easier to remember. Once you have a memorable word or image, you can then create a story around it to further enhance retention. Example of using the major system. Let's say you need to remember the number 2315. Using the major system, you break it down into the corresponding letters, 2N, 3M, 1T, 5L. Now you can form a word or phrase, such as man tells lies. The image of a man telling lies is far more memorable than a string of numbers. By creating a vivid mental image, you give your brain something concrete to latch onto, making it much easier to recall. Chunking, breaking numbers into manageable pieces. Another helpful technique for remembering numbers is chunking. This involves breaking down long numbers into smaller, more manageable chunks. The human brain can typically hold about 7 pieces of information in short-term memory at once, so breaking a long number into chunks makes it easier to store and retrieve. For example, a 12-digit number like 1-800-718-32356 becomes easier to remember if broken down into smaller chunks, 1800-718-323-56. Each chunk is a separate unit that the brain can focus on, reducing the cognitive load. Association and storytelling, adding meaning to numbers. Horsley also emphasizes the power of storytelling in remembering numbers. Once you have your chunks or words, the next step is to create a narrative that links them together. This could be a simple sentence or a complex story, but the key is to make it as vivid and emotionally engaging as possible. The more unusual and colorful the story, the more likely it is to stick in your memory. For example, if you need to remember a number like 7638, you might create a story. The 7-foot-tall giant with 6 packs of soda was seen by 38 people. This narrative links the numbers together in a way that makes sense to your brain, allowing for easier recall. Using the link system for number sequences. Another memory strategy that Horsley recommends for remembering number sequences is the link system. This system involves creating associations between each number in the sequence, linking them together like a chain. For example, if you need to remember the sequence 3247, you could create a mental link 3M, 2N, 4R, 7K. Now, you could imagine a story like, a man named Mark runs in a marathon. This simple narrative links each number to a memorable action, helping to reinforce the memory. The more absurd or unusual the story, the stronger the memory will be. Practice and repetition, strengthening your memory. Like any skill, remembering numbers improves with practice. Horsley recommends taking time each day to practice recalling numbers, whether it's by memorizing phone numbers, license plates, or even random number sequences. The more you practice, the more effective these strategies become. Repetition strengthens the neural connections in your brain, making it easier to remember numbers over time. Using technology to your advantage. While Horsley focuses on mental techniques for remembering numbers, he also acknowledges the benefits of using technology as an aid. There are various apps and tools that can help you practice and refine your memory skills, but he cautions against becoming overly reliant on them. Technology can serve as a helpful support system, but the goal should be to build your internal memory capabilities, rather than relying on external crutches. Conclusion: unlocking the power of number recall. Mastering the ability to remember numbers is a highly valuable skill, both in daily life and in professional settings. By using techniques like the major system, chunking, and storytelling, you can transform abstract numbers into concrete, memorable pieces of information. The key to success is practice and consistent application of these strategies. With time, remembering numbers will become second nature, allowing you to recall important digits with ease and confidence. Horsley's approach to number memory isn't just about memorizing. It's about transforming numbers into stories and images, making them unforgettable. Chapter 13. Art in Memory. Unlocking the creative power of memory. In Chapter 13 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley delves into the fascinating relationship between memory and art. He argues that memory is not just a skill or a cognitive tool. It is an art form that can be cultivated and enhanced through creativity. This chapter focuses on how applying artistic techniques can amplify memory retention and recall, making information not only easier to remember but also more enjoyable to learn. The link between creativity and memory is more profound than most people realize, and by tapping into this connection, we can unlock new levels of mental performance. Memory as an art form. Just like any other form of art, memory can be crafted and honed with intention and practice. Horsley highlights that artists approach their craft by blending technique with creativity, and this same approach can be applied to memory. Instead of viewing memory as a purely functional tool, he encourages readers to embrace the artistic side of remembering, transforming the process into something dynamic, personal, and deeply engaging. The more creative and colorful the associations we make, the more our brain will retain the information. Using mental imagery to enhance memory. One of the most powerful techniques that Horsley promotes is the use of mental imagery. Visualizing images, people, or objects related to the material you are trying to remember can dramatically increase retention. The human brain is naturally wired to remember images, especially those that evoke strong emotions or stand out in unique ways. By associating the material to be remembered with vivid, often exaggerated images, you create mental art that sticks in the mind far more effectively than dry facts or numbers alone. Creating memorable pictures. The key to this strategy is to make the images as striking and unusual as possible. For example, if you need to remember a name like Tommy, you could picture a large tomato wearing a top hat. This creates a ridiculous, eye-catching image that your brain is unlikely to forget. Horsley encourages readers to use their imagination to create mental pictures that are bizarre, humorous, or surprising. This plays on the brain's tendency to remember the unusual, thereby strengthening the mental connection to the information you want to retain. The link between art and storytelling. Storytelling is another technique that can merge the world of art and memory. Horsley emphasizes the importance of creating a story around the information you want to remember. Just as a painter might add layers to a canvas to enhance its depth, you can add layers to a story to deepen your memory of it. A well-crafted narrative can link various pieces of information together, creating a seamless mental picture that flows naturally from one idea to the next. As you build a story in your mind, the connections between ideas become stronger, making it easier to recall them when needed. Memory palaces and artistic visualization. Horsley also revisits the concept of the memory palace, a technique that has been used for centuries to memorize large amounts of information. This method involves visualizing a familiar location, like a house or a street, and placing pieces of information along a mental path within that location. Each location becomes a mental anchor for the information, making it easier to recall later. Horsley encourages readers to turn this process into an artistic endeavor, using vivid imagery and imaginative connections to turn the palace into a creative, personal space. The more artful the visualization, the more effective the memory palace will be. Applying artistic techniques to everyday memory tasks. The beauty of using artistic memory techniques is that they can be applied to virtually any situation. Whether you are preparing for a presentation, memorizing a list of items, or recalling details for a project, these creative techniques can be adapted to fit any need. Horsley suggests practicing these techniques on a daily basis, such as by memorizing a short story or practicing visualization exercises, to build up the artistic muscle of memory. Over time, these techniques will become second nature, and you will find that your memory becomes increasingly sharp and reliable. Memory as a tool for personal growth. Horsley concludes the chapter by encouraging readers to view memory not just as a tool for recalling information, but as an essential skill for personal growth. When memory becomes an art form, it empowers us to learn more efficiently, connect ideas in innovative ways, and expand our creative potential. Just like an artist continues to refine their craft over time, we too can continuously improve our memory and unlock new heights of intellectual and personal achievement. The artistic approach to memory invites us to approach learning with enthusiasm, imagination, and curiosity, transforming the process of remembering into a rewarding and enjoyable experience. Chapter 14. Using the methods. In Chapter 14 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley focuses on how to effectively apply the various memory techniques covered in the previous chapters to real-life situations. This chapter is all about turning theoretical knowledge into practical use, helping readers move from basic understanding to active implementation in their daily lives. It's about taking the methods and making them an integral part of how you approach learning, remembering, and interacting with information. Applying memory techniques to real-world scenarios. Horsley emphasizes that the true power of memory techniques lies in their everyday application. It's not enough to learn the techniques in theory. They need to be practiced consistently to become second nature. He encourages readers to begin incorporating the methods into their daily routines, whether that means memorizing grocery lists, remembering people's names, or preparing for a big presentation. The more these techniques are practiced, the more effortless and natural they will become. Horsley provides practical examples of how people in different fields, students, professionals, and even athletes, can apply memory techniques to their work and study habits. Consistency and practice. The key takeaway from this chapter is that consistency is essential for success. Just as an artist practices their craft or a musician rehearses their instrument, memory techniques require regular practice to reach mastery. Horsley urges readers to set aside time each day to practice memory exercises, starting small and gradually increasing the complexity of what they are memorizing. By consistently using these techniques, the brain strengthens its ability to retain and recall information more efficiently. He also reminds readers that failure to consistently practice can lead to forgetting, making memory maintenance an ongoing effort. Customization of techniques. Horsley discusses the importance of customizing the memory techniques to suit personal needs. Not every memory method will work the same for everyone, so it's crucial to experiment with different approaches and find what works best for you. Whether it's creating more vivid mental images, practicing memory palaces, or using chunking methods, the key is to adapt the techniques to fit the way you learn and remember most effectively. For example, some people may find it easier to remember names by associating them with a personal image or a story, while others may find repeating the name in conversation helps. The beauty of the memory methods is their flexibility, allowing for adaptation based on individual preferences. Integration into long-term memory. Another key concept in this chapter is how to move the information from short-term to long-term memory. Horsley explains that simply memorizing something for the moment is not enough. True mastery comes from being able to retain and recall the information over the long term. To achieve this, repetition and review are essential. Repeated exposure to information, spaced out over time, helps solidify the memory. Horsley recommends incorporating the spaced repetition technique, which involves revisiting information at increasing intervals to ensure it stays fresh in your mind. This technique prevents forgetting and helps transfer knowledge into long-term memory. Combining techniques for maximum effectiveness. In this chapter, Horsley also discusses how to combine various memory techniques to maximize their effectiveness. For example, you can use a memory palace to recall the main points of a presentation, while also incorporating the use of mental imagery or mind maps to connect ideas. By combining different strategies, you create multiple pathways to retrieve the information, making it easier to remember and recall under pressure. This approach also enhances creativity, allowing individuals to experiment and find the most effective combination of techniques for their specific needs. Memory as a lifelong skill. Horsley stresses that memory improvement is a lifelong process. The techniques presented in the book are not meant to be temporary fixes but lifelong skills that will continue to enhance intellectual ability, professional performance, and personal growth. By viewing memory as a skill that can be continuously improved, readers are empowered to keep progressing and refining their abilities over time. Like any skill, memory requires ongoing attention, but the rewards are immense: sharper cognitive abilities, better learning, and improved overall mental performance. Horsley concludes the chapter by urging readers to embrace memory techniques as a lifelong practice that will serve them well in both their professional and personal lives. Conclusion. Chapter 14 of Unlimited Memory offers a practical guide for integrating memory techniques into your daily life. It highlights the importance of consistency, customization, and long-term practice to make memory a powerful tool for learning and personal growth. By actively applying the methods in real-world scenarios and combining them in creative ways, readers can unlock their full cognitive potential. Memory is not just a passive skill. It's an active, evolving practice that can lead to profound improvements in how we learn, recall, and apply knowledge. Chapter 15. Self-discipline. In Chapter 15 of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley discusses the essential role of self-discipline in effectively mastering memory techniques. Memory improvement, like any other skill, requires consistent practice and the cultivation of habits that enhance the mind's ability to retain and recall information. Horsley focuses on how discipline plays a pivotal role in making these memory techniques part of your everyday routine, ensuring that they are consistently applied for optimal results. Building strong habits. Horsley emphasizes that the first step in achieving memory improvement is to establish the right habits. Successful memory techniques don't work overnight. They require time, effort, and repetition to make them an automatic part of your mental processes. The chapter opens with the idea that discipline is about consistency and making memory practices a daily habit. For instance, you might dedicate a few minutes each day to practice techniques like visualization or memory palaces. By doing so, you build a foundation for improvement that grows stronger over time. Horsley encourages readers to avoid the temptation of instant results, reminding them that long-term memory mastery is a gradual process. The role of focus and discipline. Focus is another crucial element when it comes to self-discipline. According to Horsley, focusing your mind on the task at hand is one of the best ways to train your memory. When you're fully present and engaged in learning, you can absorb information more effectively, making it easier to recall later. To build focus, Horsley suggests practicing mindfulness and minimizing distractions during memory exercises. He explains that the more you focus on the techniques, the more ingrained they become in your memory. Discipline is not just about repetition, but also about creating an environment that supports concentration and mental clarity. Mental endurance and perseverance. Memory improvement is also about mental endurance, pushing through when the initial excitement fades and the process becomes more challenging. As in any skill-building activity, there will be times when progress feels slow or when distractions get in the way. Horsley advises readers to stick with their practice even during these difficult periods, as consistency is key. He likens building a strong memory to building muscle. Your mind grows stronger with every bit of effort you put into it. Developing this kind of perseverance will make it easier to overcome challenges and eventually master the techniques. Setting clear goals. Another vital aspect of self-discipline is goal setting. Horsley suggests that readers set specific, measurable goals for their memory improvement. This could be memorizing a certain number of facts per day, recalling a certain type of information, or performing well in a memory challenge. Clear goals provide motivation and a sense of purpose, which reinforces self-discipline. He explains that setting goals and tracking progress can help maintain momentum, especially when the improvement seems gradual. Regularly assessing your progress keeps you on track and reminds you that the effort you're putting into developing your memory is paying off. Overcoming mental blocks. Self-discipline also requires the ability to overcome mental blocks. Many people feel discouraged when they don't see immediate results, or when they face difficulties remembering specific pieces of information. Horsley stresses the importance of maintaining a positive mindset and pushing through these obstacles. Instead of viewing a temporary lapse in memory as failure, treat it as an opportunity to learn and improve. He advocates for a growth mindset, believing that with effort and persistence, anyone can enhance their memory. Self-discipline, in this sense, is about maintaining the mental fortitude to keep going, even when it seems like you're not progressing as quickly as you'd like. Rewarding progress. Finally, Horsley highlights the importance of rewarding oneself for progress made. Recognizing and celebrating small achievements can significantly enhance motivation and reinforce disciplined habits. These rewards don't necessarily need to be extravagant. Simple recognition of improvement or treating yourself to something enjoyable can boost morale and make the process more enjoyable. Positive reinforcement creates a cycle of motivation and discipline that encourages continued growth. As you see improvements in your memory, the sense of accomplishment helps you stay committed to the practice. Conclusion. Chapter 15 of Unlimited Memory stresses the importance of self-discipline in mastering memory techniques. It's not just about knowing how to use memory methods. It's about consistently applying them and cultivating the right mental habits. By focusing on building strong habits, maintaining mental endurance, setting clear goals, overcoming mental blocks, and rewarding progress, readers can harness the power of discipline to make memory improvement a lasting skill. As with any other form of self-improvement, persistence and commitment are essential. In the end, the disciplined practice of memory techniques will lead to remarkable results, improving both cognitive performance and overall learning capabilities. Chapter 16. Review to Renew. In the final chapter of Unlimited Memory, Kevin Horsley emphasizes the significance of reviewing what you've learned in order to retain and enhance memory over time. He underscores that continuous review is not just a way to prevent forgetting, but also a powerful tool for renewing and reinforcing the techniques that have been learned. He invites readers to see review as an integral part of the memory process, a way to deepen knowledge and make memories stick for the long term. The importance of spaced repetition. Horsley introduces the concept of spaced repetition, a technique that involves reviewing information at increasing intervals to strengthen memory retention. The idea is simple. Instead of cramming or reviewing all at once, you revisit material periodically, each time spacing the reviews further apart. This method capitalizes on the brain's natural ability to remember things that are revisited over time, ensuring that the information moves from short-term to long-term memory. The chapter explains how spaced repetition has been scientifically proven to be one of the most effective ways to retain information. Horsley suggests that, by implementing this technique, readers can solidify the memory of even complex information and make it easier to recall later. Reviewing with purpose. Horsley stresses that reviewing should not be mindless or mechanical. It must be done with purpose and intention. When you review information, you should actively engage with it, rethinking how it connects to other things you've learned and applying it in different contexts. This type of active review strengthens the mental pathways associated with the information, making it easier to retrieve when needed. Instead of just skimming through notes or facts, Horsley encourages readers to immerse themselves in the material, asking questions and exploring the subject from multiple angles. The role of consistency in review. Consistency is another key component of effective review. Horsley explains that, while reviewing information once is helpful, consistent, regular reviews are necessary to ensure long-term retention. He likens this to physical fitness. Just as you wouldn't expect to build muscle with a single workout, you can't expect to keep information in your memory with a single review. The more consistently you review, the easier it will be to recall the information when it's needed. This commitment to regular review is what turns memory techniques into lasting habits. Tracking progress. As part of the review process, Horsley encourages readers to track their progress. Keeping a record of what you've learned, when you last reviewed it, and how well you recall it can help you stay on track and make adjustments where necessary. Tracking progress gives you insight into what is sticking and what might need further attention. It also serves as a reminder of how much you've already accomplished, which can be a powerful motivator to continue with your memory training. Incorporating review into daily life. One of the key takeaways from Chapter 16 is the idea of making review a seamless part of your daily routine. Instead of seeing review as a separate task or something you do at the end of a study session, Horsley suggests integrating it into your everyday activities. For instance, you might review a set of facts while commuting or use memory techniques during routine tasks like cooking or shopping. This constant reinforcement not only helps to retain the information, but also builds a habit of reviewing throughout your day, ensuring that the material stays fresh in your mind. Reviewing for mental clarity. Beyond memory retention, regular review also helps clear mental clutter. When you review information, you make space in your mind by reinforcing important knowledge and discarding unnecessary distractions. This mental clarity can improve focus, reduce stress, and enhance overall cognitive function. Horsley explains that the process of reviewing allows you to refine your understanding of topics, making it easier to focus on what truly matters and reducing the mental overload that often comes from trying to juggle too much at once. Conclusion: a lifelong practice. Horsley concludes the chapter by emphasizing that review is not a one-time event, but a lifelong practice. It is something that should become ingrained in your daily routine, ensuring that memory techniques continue to strengthen over time. Just as physical exercise keeps the body fit, regular review keeps the mind sharp. By integrating review into your life, you ensure that the techniques you've learned are continually reinforced and made more effective. In the end, reviewing is the key to making memory improvement not just a short-term goal, but a lasting part of your life. And there you have it, a comprehensive breakdown of unlimited memory by Kevin Horsley. By now, you should understand the key techniques to unlock your brain's full potential. Remember, improving your memory isn't an overnight process. It's about consistent practice, discipline, and incorporating these strategies into your daily life. Start small, keep reviewing, and over time, you'll be amazed at your memory transformation. Thank you for staying with us. If you found this summary helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more book summaries and insightful content.